Welcome to Stormwatch by GreyNoise Intelligence. Each week, we cover the latest info on what's happening at GreyNoise, Censys, VulnCheck, and Run Zero. Yeah, that's it, just four. Take a look at a roundup of important and timely cybersecurity topics, toss out some expert opinions, and drop the occasional conspiracy theory. All right, well, today we are going to brave the choppy cyber waters caused by recent CVE turbulence. Defenders came within a hair's breadth, and I meant to look what up that is because I don't even know what a hair's breadth is, of being left out in the cold thanks to bureaucratic incompetence and malfeasance. But the outlook isn't all puppy dog sunshine and roses, as some defenders of the legacy CVE program might have you believe. So we're gonna have a little discussion about that, hopefully keeping it civil, and hopefully I'll emerge undead. Imperva recently released their latest bad bot report, and it confirms that the web is really just bots talking to each other. Yes, the internet is officially dead. And of course, we cover the latest from all of our benevolent overlords across all of the vendors that are on this podcast. And I get to talk to my co-host today, which is awesome. Kimber, I want to start with you because I think you're going to have really positive vibes, good stuff to say. How's it going, Kimber?
Wow. It's a Tuesday. The sun is shining. What more can we ask for, you know?
These days, not much.
Yeah.
I mean, a working CVE program would be good. I mean, possibly.
Look.
Next
Don't
topic,
get started
Bob.
early.
Yeah. All right.
Don't get started early on
I'll
this.
pace it. I'll pace it. I'll pace it. Todd, what's the vibe check going on there? How's it going, Todd?
Well, last week was pretty uneventful for me.
Cool.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I think it all anyway, we don't have to talk about that yet. I spent the weekend on a lovely beach in Mexico for 2 or 3 days and learned that a family friend of my sister-in-law, works at Boston Dynamics. And so we talked about, of course, the Unitree Go 1 robot dog. And he was like,
do you have a hookup to get one?
Wow.
And I, offered services as, do you need some vulnerability hunting in your devices?
Want to hack your robot?
Please hack your robots.
Do you even have to ship those, or do they just walk to their destination?
I think so. I think you just you just give them GPS and they just get there somehow.
Just slap it on the shoulder.
They put them in outfits now. They
no.
dress them up.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, oh, I'm done. It's cute now. It's fine.
My weekend was great. I didn't pay attention to much other than pina coladas and beach time and Boston Dynamics.
And most impressively, they let you back in.
You know what? My transit of the U.S. border, depressingly uneventful. I was kind of ready to fight.
You were ready to brawl.
Oh man.
And yeah,
I don't think anyone don't be like Todd. Do not be like Todd, everybody. Hope for a very seamless.
I have also all of the privileges, so it's not surprising that I got through. But also I am a U.S. passport holder, so
that helps. Glenn, you had some adventures. You must have some seriously good vibes after being off for a while.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It took a couple days. Went to Colorado. I mean, I knew it was going to snow because I can read the weather forecast, but still, it was shocking to find out that it was going to snow. But luckily, it was basically landed. Started snowing for 30 or 20 hours. Stopped. Sun came out. Snow was pretty, and then melted before I left. So it was the perfect timing for see the snow, look at it, but don't get impacted by it. So it was awesome. It was really cool to see the trees that are trying to bloom covered in snow on all the mountains and stuff. So it was cool. It was very nice.
You made a bunch of short new friends too, I noticed while you were there.
Yeah, and Bob, I sent you a photo and I immediately regretted it. So if that's what's about to happen,
nope. I am not. That is a personal photo. It's a personal photo of you as a human, not just a drink that you might have, a foofy drink you might have been drinking. So I'm not going to do that to you.
I like bits, and I just seem to find them. And so this was Colorado Springs, and I haven't looked up the why. But their bit is there's a bunch of tiny little Humpty Dumpty statues around this one block. And I don't know, 20 of them. And they're probably 3 or 4 feet tall, and they're just on the buildings doing different positions, or one's an artist, one's a skier, or whatever. And they cracked me up. I was very entertained by them, and they all look like George Washington. So then they were like eggs with George Washington wigs because it was big fluffy snow. Yeah, it was quite entertaining. And then I had to make bits out of it, but you know, it's fine.
They're so good.
They're
definitely
creepy looking.
worth.
No, they're creepy. They're honest to goodness creepy looking.
Kimber, did you see it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen
I
them in
can share it
person
out,
too.
Yeah.
They're
Oh, you have? Okay, yeah.
yeah, they're ridiculous.
Their
I think
facial
they're
expressions
funny.
are just. I like street art like that.
Yeah.
I
And
guess
they're like
Overwatch.
full
Vibe
bronze
check.
too.
Oh. RSA prep. Ooh. Oof. Yeah. And as everyone that may have been following on socials, one idiot on this show thought it was RSA week this week, and he was wrong. So I am dislocated from time, apparently, is what this means.
We have
they're very good. Very good, Glenn. Yeah. What does one buy for RSA? I don't know what that is.
Oh, it just depends who you are, I think.
I guess so too. Yeah.
I don't know, a company.
Yeah.
So
what I was thinking, like, what?
All right. So my vibe check, I actually have a vibe check, and it's thanks to an investigation spawned by a Mastodon conversation. And as many organizations are wont to do before RSA, like they drop big news events. So I'm dropping a big news event, Tioga, about a deep investigation of a brand new threat actor that I've been painstakingly like researching ever since last Thursday when this became a thing. So I would like to introduce you all to Vibe Typhoon, the brand new threat actor that's out there right now.
I love it.
Part of the Typhoon family.
Mhm.
Part of the Typhoon family. And this has a very interesting threat actor profile. They operate entirely on vibes, chill energy, occasional lo-fi playlist. They have a bunch of different fun, alt names like all these things do. So
I'm
UNC
finding no
426
issues so far.
With what?
With what? Actor.
I think I would just
me
let
either.
them in.
I think so too. Yeah.
Okay.
They target hospitality, rooftop bars they prefer, yoga studios, streaming services. This is probably one of like the nicer threat actors that are out there, but it's good that there's a soft side to the Typhoon family.
Yeah.
I'm really wondering how you got here.
I'm also really appreciating Vibe Admin and Beam Injector as the known tools used.
Is this for Vibe coding?
Sorry, I keep thinking I'm in Arc, and I'm not in Arc, so I use the Arc keys to do things, and it does work anyway. If everyone wants to investigate the threat actor, you can investigate them there. And all apologies to FortiGuard Labs for complete stealing of their template on this one, for doing this, and also using 17 of their threat actor profile images to create the Vibe Typhoon one in an AI image generator that actually does do the right thing, and they actually license their content. So
what?
Have fun with that, everybody.
Am I missing something? How did you get here? Was there a
I'm sorry. So I was having a discussion with Neurovagrant, Ian Campbell, Domain Tools, like super cyber person. And in the discussion, he said, "Hey, we need Vibe Typhoon or something like that." And it's been a year, so I just latched onto that for all hope of positivity, and I just needed something to distract myself for a couple of days, so I did that.
Well, it's really hard to know what's real and fake anymore, so I just had to make sure that we were going with a joke on this one.
I'm not sure anything. I mean, as we're going to see in the bad bot thing, I don't know if anything is real anymore. So that's it. Before we get to our poll, everyone to make Overwatch happy, and you can actually go in person to our booth at RSA next week, and I'm sure that Overwatch will guide you to this page, so you can even type it in front of Overwatch, so you can actually like make her happy there. And just do that, like, subscribe, all the things, so you keep up to date with what's going on here at GreyNoise. And we have a poll, and again, nice light poll, because like really deep, heavy subjects these days. What is your go-to candy while coding? First of all, I just need to say I don't eat candy at all, and I don't eat anything while I'm coding, so I did not answer this particular survey. I don't know about you guys, but I didn't answer this one. And we have a choice between peanut M&Ms, Twix, Sour Patch Kids, and Cadbury Dairy Milk, which again I don't even know
Whatever
what
that
the heck.
is.
Yeah, I don't want to know what that is. Oddly enough, we have kind of agreement between all three socials again, the three different odd, very, very distinct communities.
Mhm.
All went with Sour Patch Kids. Any feels on that, anybody?
I agree with it. I think it's a good choice.
I don't like
I
candy
not-
with sugar.
I cannot stand Sour Patch Kids, and I only know this because the boy is addicted to Sour Patch Kids. Like anytime I go to the grocery store, it's like, hey, do you need anything? Yeah, Sour Patch Kids. Okay. And I try to steal them, like a good parent does. And I'm like, these are still horrible. But it's a thing.
Not great.
Kids love them.
Yeah, I'm more of the chocolate guy, not the sugary guy. I know they're sugar.
I wish this poll was a little bit more like open-ended, I think, because these were very specific answers.
It's only 4 choices.
But
Yeah,
if we turn into a gamified thing like we did at Halloween last year, and someone would rig the poll like we did last year for some stupid candy to be number one. So open-ended is probably not a good thing.
That's true.
we had to go light. We gotta have Chipper. There was too much baggage last week. We couldn't do a security poll.
I don't think I like any of these. I can't eat peanut M&Ms because the peanuts. Twix is just nasty. Sour Patch Kids, and Dairy Milk. That's not happening. It's like this is a terrible poll. This is like Jordan, like better candy.
You've attacked me twice in one sentence. Peanut M&Ms and Twix are.
I mean, the day is still young. It's only 10:41, Glenn. It's going to be a pretty bad day. All right, so we're going to get on to the main topic, and so nothing happened last week, as everybody knows. Very quiet week in cyber. No major events, no drama, followed by more drama at all. Because if there were, people would have written like articles on it, like the Register did about the CVE follow-up. The splintering of the standard vulnerability tracking system has begun, and Censys actually chimed in with a really good, thoughtful post on the CVE program. And also, like Run Zero Todd, like I didn't do that. There you go. That you got it. That wasn't my fault on your blog. I did not touch anything. You did a great little piece on here too, which we're gonna talk through here. And also VulnCheck to the rescue, bringing a voice of reason here with your press release about supporting CVE period, including the CVE program. Glenn also got like a nice little quote in there. Nice job, Glenn, on get your voice heard out there as well. And as we're going to hear, like we didn't post anything because we are a company of action, not just words. So we're going to talk about we're going to talk about that. But where do we begin with the CVE debacle? Someone here is closer to this than all of us, and if I let him talk first, he can get propaganda out that I can actually like smack down. So
Sure.
Todd, what happened? What happened last
this
week?
Is like when you're negotiating for a car, the person who starts with the number first loses.
Yeah, Todd, can you tell everybody what happened last week? Like what major calamity thanks to internet administration almost happened and it was saved, but like other things happened. So, like give us a rundown, will you please?
So what happened was, I believe while we were streaming this very live webcast last week, I am a good webcaster. I silence all my devices, right? When I'm doing this, I get off and I see I have like 50 signal messages, right? In like 12 different groups. Everything's lighting up, and I've got like a million emails. So it turns out, the MITRE Corporation, which is the operator of the CVE program, sent a letter to the CVE board, of which I am one, and said, "Hey, gang, everything's okay." Basically,
a big "don't worry about it," and you all were just kind of like, "What?"
Sounds like I should be worrying about this. And so there was a there's a funding contract, and by the way, none of this I'm particularly familiar with. I'm just like a CVE nerd. I don't really care how the funding works, but I do now. And there's an annual contract that tends to get renewed by DHS Science and Technology, which is not part of CISA. And MITRE, the CVE stuff is in this big bundle of MITRE contracts, right? And it just gets auto-renewed in April, I guess, every year or something. And this year it didn't happen, right? And so MITRE Corporation wrote to the board and said, "Hey, there's a thing. Don't have to worry about it. It'll probably be fine." And then after that, CISA proper which is part of DHS, but not part of DHS Science and Technology, said late that day on last Tuesday, said late in the day, I want to say like 10 or 11 p.m. like Eastern time, said like, oh, don't worry. So like literally 11th hour. Hey, there's an option in the contract we can exercise. We can extend the funding. We can like, nothing's going dark. Those are the facts. Like I didn't see the letter from the board until like 50 people told me about it. And then I went to look at my email. I'm like, oh, there it is. But since then, some organizations have been stood up. One of them is the CVE Foundation, which I'm associated with, but I'm not like employed there. I'm not an officer of it or anything. And we talked about this kind of a lot at VulnCon of like, hey, wouldn't it be cool to have like multiple streams of funding? So like one funding source can't just like, pull the plug all of a sudden. And things are getting plugs pulled on them all of a sudden in the US government today, right? And so like the emergency is now. Like we've been talking about it like off and on for, I don't know, like a year or something, in various contexts, not just CVE Foundation or anything like that, but it's like, hey, it would be nice to have like multiple streams and like other governments and other companies that like depend on CVE, like the Tenables and Rapid7s and Qualis of the world maybe should pony up for this kind of thing. All of that, right? So moral of the story is we had like the barest skeleton of the CVE Foundation like in the works, definitely not ready to go, as everyone has noticed. But we're working on it, right? And I'm advising as I can, like as a concerned board member. So
it was what was the cousin named actually Vinny that set this up that day for you guys?
No. It's a nonprofit. It's incorporated in Washington State. I think the FAQ now lists a few names on there. I'm on there as associated with, but not officer of. And so we're getting through it. We've had hundreds of, and I say we, but I shouldn't say we. Like the CVE Foundation has had a couple hundred like inbounds of like, how can we help? What do you need? Folks like the DEF CON people have been helping out, and EFF have like been trying to help and all that. So like we're kind of getting a bit of a internet hug of like, oh, great, thank you. But also we have like basic things to do, like setting up any kind of corporate governance. So all of that's still kind of ongoing. It's not as fast as anybody wants, right? Everybody wants like a drop-in solution. And there are several other solutions which you will no doubt talk about, Bob. And I do worry about the splintering and the XKCD 15 standards argument, right? So yes. Like it's a time here. We have a little bit of runway because of the funding is uninterrupted. MITRE's still doing the MITRE thing. But the time to act is now.
And Kimber, if you could talk to the VulnCheck thing. Yeah, I was going to say, because you have a great perspective. Yeah. You guys were ready at the gate almost for this. It's like you sensed this could be an upheaval year for CVE. So
I think before I even get into that, it would probably be really helpful to just level set, because we're super mega nerds and we know all of the intricacies of the vulnerability issuing system. But I think it would actually be really helpful for Todd to like just walk through how a CVE even gets issued and where MITRE sits in that program, because we understand MITRE is like the root of it, but where do they fit in?
Can we make a Schoolhouse Rock version of it? We need a Schoolhouse Rock version of this so bad.
We definitely should. I don't know how to do it with AI or
somebody's got to do
like
this.
A bunch of Korean animators, which we definitely should do. Yeah, I mean, basically, like, okay, if you're like Jane researcher and you have a cool bug and you on some WordPress plugin, right? That's a bad example. On some, I don't know, piece of robot tech, and you say like, hey, I have a cool bug. What do I do? Well, you go to my the normal path is like you go to cveforum.mitre.org and you say like, hey, here's my cool bug, CVE please. And then MITRE says like, okay, cool. And then they will spin one out in some amount of time, right? And there various reports put that time to respond all over the map, right? Like anytime I write to MITRE, I get a response like right away. I don't know what it is. And I think there's some going back and forth of like, hey, did you do the vendor? Like MITRE does try to like do the barest amount of coordinated vulnerability disclosure. They're not just like popping them out like robots. But basically, once you do that, then MITRE says, cool, here's your number, and then it's reserved, and then you give them any kind of information they want, like the name of the software and the description and any references, public references that must be out. And those are pretty much the only things that matter. Like you don't have to do CVSS or CWE or anything like that. And so you have this basic CVE, and the MITRE says cool, and then they hit publish, and then it's published, right? And then everyone, and then repeat. MITRE does this all of the time, right? They used to be like the primary source, and then they were the major source, and now they run. I don't know exactly what the stats are right now. I think they run less than 50% of CVEs now, which is good. Like we're trying to get MITRE kind of out of the CVE writing business because we have hundreds of other folks out there like me who can write their own CVEs. And I do that if it's me and I have a bug, or somebody presents a bug at Austin Hackers Anonymous and say, CVE, please. I say, no problem. And I go reserve it through the CVE API, which is run by MITRE. And so anything I do with CVEs is also like intersecting with MITRE assets, right? They run all their stuff. So CVE services is how that works. It publishes on cvd.org, it publishes at MITRE. Eventually NVD picks us up and does their NVD magic on it. And so that's the very short and kind of fragmented way that CVEs happen if MITRE is the issuer or another CVE numbering authority, of which I run one. And so do you, Kim.
Right.
And
yeah. I mean, not me personally, but like
right.
VulnCheck, yes.
Yes,
And
VulnCheck is
so,
one, AHA's one, and like Microsoft is one, and Apple is one, right? And they can write their own, right? And so it is this like what you get guaranteed is that your number is unique, right? Like you don't just make them up with a piece of paper. Like you pull them off of the API and that's yours then. We have some reserved right now in AHA that we're working through disclosure on, like just on our own, right? MITRE doesn't have to be involved in any of that business. And MITRE doesn't like check our homework usually.
right.
Well, that's another thing. But yeah, so that's the role of MITRE. It's like they operate the infrastructure, they operate intake for like CVEs that don't otherwise have a home, and they run the meetings and they like do the notes and they like do secretariat things and all that stuff, and also sometimes they kick Kimber off the webcast. Mean.
We have lost the Kimber. That is not good. Sorry.
So what happens if in that example or that flow that you just outlined, Todd, say MITRE goes dark tomorrow?
Yeah.
Which was kind of the big panic scare, was because of the short amount of time. So
right.
MITRE is suddenly offline tomorrow. What happens?
MITRE gets hit by a hurricane or something, right? Or funding is pulled back or cut or whatever, because like we don't actually know. I don't know. I'm not an accountant. I don't know how, and I'm definitely not a government accountant. So I don't know how funding actually works. But if MITRE were to go dark, if MITRE wouldn't get paid, right, by somebody to keep doing this, eventually like the website turns off, right? The CVE services turn off. You don't get new CVEs now. Think that's the main thing, right?
So the CNAs that exist, the hundreds of CNAs could not exist without.
We can do our thing.
Kind of like with the certificate authority or
MITRE's CVE services, because MITRE is the operator of the program.
Yep.
So there's 2 points of failure, right? Like MITRE funding stops, so MITRE stops work, or MITRE stops because suddenly MITRE's illegal, like, or whatever, right? Like I don't know, like something terrible could happen to MITRE.
Weird stuff happens.
Weird stuff happens. Like maybe there's an executive order that says no federally funded research and development centers may end with E. and like, so, okay, well, I guess we're all done here. Because that's how executive orders work. Also need a Schoolhouse Rock on executive orders because they're not laws.
So yeah, I think
Kimber,
it's very natural to me that people would be like, oh, if this one thing is gone, what are the alternatives? And I think that instead of Where we're kind of landing on this is we're supporting the CVE program. We're reserving the CVEs for us to use in the future. We're setting the intention of the CNAs can take on some of this work. And like, if MITRE is the main thing right now, like the distribution of work seems helpful, right? Like help the homies out kind of approach, because the idea that we're all going to figure this out in a year seems very far-fetched to me, when all of the United States and then some is reliant upon this identifier. Because going back to the XKCD comic, if you're not familiar, it's basically about how this standard sucks, let's start up a new one. And then the community becomes even more fractured because we're all using different identifiers. Right. I'm remaining very strong that a new identifier is not the solution. Like, no matter what,
I agree.
Like, I am putting a firm stance down that they're having 15 competing standards is a bad thing. And the best thing that you can do is track all of the information, track all of the identifiers, get all of the data.
And this program was started, I mean, the CVE program with MITRE was started in 1999. So we're 25, 26 years into this. Not that that means it should continue as is, but it does mean that it's deeply rooted, you know, nearly since the inception of a true InfoSec, CyberSec field.
And like the OG 1999 era CVE, like every CVE was like voted on by an editorial board that was mostly MITRE people and some like academics, right?
And
so
that
like,
had to change.
And we would just review them and say like, yeah, that looks like a vulnerability, or no, that's actually, and then like, there was an era where we had CAN numbers, if you can remember those, and then CAN numbers would eventually become CVE number. CANs were CVE. What did that stand for? I don't know. But they were candidates. They were candidate CVEs. And that's in the old times, right? And so like there have been eras where MITRE is very involved in like the content of the CVE descriptions, right? And the content of the CVE identifiers. They're much less so today, which is not to say they're useless. They do a lot of good stuff, right? Like and this is the thing. It's like I would hope, like Kimber, that like we will march forward with CVE, like the real CVE. Which I'll just go ahead and say. and the future of CVE is now. We don't have the luxury of 10.5 months to figure it out. We have to figure it out kind of now. And, you know, a perfect solution involves the existing CNAs, you know, existing, you know, tech industry, cybersecurity industry, MITRE, CISA, both have lots of expertise and interest, right? Like we want, I personally want everybody to be like involved, right? So like I'm not trying to cut anybody out.
Yeah, and there's some nuance to this for me as well, of like obviously we shouldn't have private industry running the whole vulnerability program, because that is bad for some obvious reasons.
The headline of CVE privatized is a terrible headline.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily like a great thing, but in private industry we have exploit expertise, right? So like you have to pay the people who write exploits good money because they're really good at it, and they could go do crime. You know, these people could just go do crime and make millions of dollars.
There, but
So if you have good exploit developers who are finding like CVEs, that's like private industry is kind of where they're living, or like incredibly independent is where they're living. So, or they're like the hobbyists, I guess, like Austin hackers. I mean, some people are really just out there finding CVEs for fun. I think I really enjoy that distribution of where all of the different CVEs come from. And like, I think I've had some friends who have been very lost in when they know they've found a vulnerability, they don't know who to go to. And they, you know, submit things to this black hole of the MITRE form. And it's like, I'm not going to hear back on this for a year because it's this really niche thing that like I bought off of the internet, and like, who knows it's a board that's in so many things, but like, who knows if it matters, kind of thing. So being able to kind of spread some of that out and have people more well informed on the CVE process seems ideal to me.
Yeah.
So
but-
what about the, I mean, I think there was so many folks that, you know, of course, never heard of MITRE before this incident, before this leaked memo and 2 days of drama, et cetera, that quickly became aware of MITRE and MITRE's role in the CV program.
Mm-hmm.
And this is also a broader statement, but this kind of highlights the dependence of this international standard that is being funded by, you know, a core part of it by the U.S. government. That funding and government operations are very unstable in the moment or unpredictable. So the damage that this has done, even if we, you know, MITRE gets a 5-year deal and funding's guaranteed into forever and ever and whatever, like things go on like nothing happened. What do we see as kind of the reputational damage or the program damage that this blip has caused?
Yeah, so Todd remarked that I've been silent, and I've been silent because I had a feeling that Kimber was going to go the community route, and I wanted Kimber to get as much of that out because I think it's a valuable thing to understand that CVE has trickled all the way down, like into the marrow of the community for vulnerability researchers, and it is a thing now. We've actually been able to for 25 years using this horrendously flawed, but the best we've had so far vulnerability tracking system. Todd might disagree with my horrendously, but it's flawed. It's got lots and lots of warts. It's ugly as F.
Have you met engineers? Like everything that engineers build, they hate so much.
Yeah. No, and so I wanted that again. So yeah. So what happened? So what happened last week? So from I'm trying to not make this too political. But like this was one more frag grenade and a bunch of other frag grenades that all center around U.S. centric things.
Yes.
So a couple things with that. I'm actually equally upset at a bunch of organizations, including your foundation. No disparaging against the CVE board members. I wanted to get that out first. They're just like Todd. They are stand-up, brilliant humans, all trying to do the right thing. They're extraordinarily capable, and they've been devoting a ton of time and a ton of resources and a ton of effort, their own time, their own resources, and their own effort. They may have been supported by their companies to do that thing. Yeah, it's all volunteer. So this is nothing against them because they have been doing as good of a job as possible because they are brilliant, but they're constrained because of the way the system actually works. So what happened last week was the government was stupid again, and we decided we were just going to take the chainsaw this time and I was waiting for this, and it turns out so was the EU, right? So the EU has set up. So I will walk people through just really quick here. Let me get over to this thing, and I will try to do it in logically. So the EU has this really cool thing with a sort of an unpublished but a useful API in the background. The European Union Vulnerability Database. Each record is an EU VD record. They will reference any other alternative IDs, and I like that. I like that phrasing because I don't know if I want EUVD being the core standard, and I definitely don't want CVE being the core standard anymore. I'll explain that in a minute. Because for everybody else out there, that was a great thing on CVE. China's had their own vulnerability program for like a long time now, and like GitHub has their own security advisory database that sometimes has CV, most of the time has CVEs generated from, but they don't. Open source vulnerabilities has their own thing. You've got a whole there. It is the ecosystem was fragmented before like we actually blew up like 2 days the whole MITRE contract. It's been fragmented already, and it's going to just continue to fragment more. Also in the works was the global CVE or the global CVE allocation system, GCVE, which is it's designed to be a federated system aligned with the EUVD, but again, like it's sort of modeled a little bit after what the CV program is. And one thing about ANISA and the EUVD is that they are a CNA and they believe in the CV program. They know it needs to be shored up and work, whatever. So I want to get out there. Like, I don't think we need to kill CVE, but my biggest concern right now, so like I built this up as a hostile thing, but it's not a hostile thing. I am worried that we're going to still continue to have a US centric CVE program because it's a US centric CVE program. And it cannot be. I am very concerned that vendor money is going to find its way into this program, because I know, and I've worked for a lot of skeezy vendors that will do a lot of things to try to make this be something that they have in control and do. And if we don't find some way to do this the right way and partner with all of these organizations that are all trying to do a good faith effort, we're literally going to completely fragment the ecosystem that's out there. And like, as I mentioned at the top of this, we didn't release anything. Like, Glenn was kind enough to do a comment for VulnCheck, but we didn't release a blog post on this, because I'm like, well, we're just gonna be one more blather, and like, you don't need to hear me rant in a blog post, because you can hear me rant on Stormwatch. But like, one thing I'm doing is, like, we're working internally now on, like, CVE is not the only identifier that we're going to be putting as a major field record. At a minimum, we're going to get all the references to all these other ones in there that reference the vulnerabilities. But moving forward, like, we have to support CVE because everyone's still going to do it. But I can't. To me, we cannot rely on CVE alone. But like, my fear is that the foundation is going to do its foundation thing. The EU is going to do its EU thing. GCVE is going to do its CVE thing. China's never going to do anything with anybody anyway. And I don't know how we get out of this mess moving forward in a way that brings the whole, and I'm gonna rant one more time. CVE is broken right now. Like 1,000 CVEs a month from like the Linux Foundation that are all garbage CVEs, and we can debate that on another show. I'm just gonna throw that out there. And all of the inundation of CVEs coming out right now that we can't actually handle as an industry. NVD abandoning their mission, and maybe they might get their funding cut too. So we'll never have enrichment happening unless CISA does it all. And who knows if they're going to be around any longer, because people just bailed from there too. So like, we are in a really sorry, pathetic shape when it comes to like vulnerability, tracking vulnerabilities, identifying them, having a centralized system, and having a common language across all the governments now. So to me, it's not just we have to shore up what CVE is. We got to fix this mess, because otherwise the attackers are going to go back to having as more of a leg up than they've had before, because we're going to be like talking gibberish. Like, it'll be like a Babel thing, and we'll all be like using different identifiers.
Yep.
Or like, actually, hopefully it doesn't devolve into the stupid sorry state of threat actor names. Because if it gets down to that, we really
That's a good example.
Right.
Yeah. I really like to highlight the comment in the stream where it's transferred to private control is the point. Like, so MITRE loses its funding from the government. What's the point of that? It is for private industry to step in. And as much as we like might hate that solution, like, that's literally the point from my perspective, which might be a spicy take, but I don't hear anyone objecting to that in the blogosphere. But if you have to have private industry step up and donate to a nonprofit to keep a program running, can the private industry then influence the like quality of the nonprofit running everything?
I mean, there's already drama when there's a CVE submitted for a product that product is a CNA. So then you already get some friction along the way. So I do agree with sort of the aspect, or the path forward being, it needs to be more international. Like, we have to quit thinking about everything being like so segmented. Like, the internet is global. It's the World Wide Web. It's in the name. So like, you have to basically sort of all contribute to this, right? Like, it shouldn't be a single source of funding. It shouldn't be under a single source of control in any way, meaning like government or whatever. It needs to be more communal, more reliable.
For anybody who is interested in like other international vulnerability tracking, there's a wonderful talk by Kristen Del Rosso. At the time she was with Sophos, but it's a LabsCon talk from I think 2022 or 23, where she dives into the CNNVD and the CNVD, like the Chinese vulnerability database tracking, and how they're just straight up sketchy, quite honestly. So you can start looking at other countries' vulnerability management programs and start realizing how much of it is influenced by nation state level hacking, or the obfuscation of such nation state level hacking. I would assume that our vulnerability tracking does some of the same stuff, but probably not as in as such of a trackable way. But that's another really interesting consequence of the globalization of vulnerability that I love thinking about, that of like, what are we purposefully not tracking in these vulnerability systems if you start looking elsewhere?
The one thing I wanted to put up too, Todd, I don't know if you know anything about this. I'm bringing this up, so this is for the people that are like listening and not watching. GitHub organization, anyone can spin up a GitHub organization, and this one's named MITRE Cybersecurity CVE Database. I do not think it's an official MITRE organization. I might be wrong. Yeah, no, it seems legit. I only know about it because I got pinged to be part of this organization, and I'm like, what is this thing? So I want to bring up. Hey, do you have any idea what this is? Because they're doing the mission of this thing. If you read through and go to the repos, they're going to be keeping a backup of all the MITRE stuff that's out there. It looks like it's going to be a backup of the MITRE database, which I do think is hilarious because I actually had someone else mention this. Like, I don't think people understand just how many backups of the CVE database is out there in every single vendor, in every single organization, everywhere. Like, we don't need more backups. Like, it's already out there.
We do have trust issues, and we do tend to back things up.
Look, it feels actionable, right?
No, I have no idea what that is. What their user icon looked like, Bert, like a revolutionary Bert from Sesame Street or something. I don't know. So that, which is great. I love it. I love a meme. It's not real MITRE.
So I'm sure we're going to talk about future show.
GitHub, you can today. I just re-up last night, right? And you do the same thing, I'm sure. You can get all of the CVE data, the corpus today.
Yeah, CVE list 5. It's beautiful. Yeah, it's awesome. Like, and to get a polls is nice. It's quick. It's fast. You can go through the right. It's great. It's awesome.
Starting it, and it was like, we're gonna try this out, see how it works. We'll probably turn it off in 6 months. It was a very like. It was a very Princess Bride kind of situation.
When you told me that too. I think I literally shed a tear when you said that you're gonna that you may kill it in 6 months. Like, this is the best thing the CV's ever done.
Yeah,
and so like we will have plenty of shows to talk about.
And there's several forks already, so you don't have to worry about it.
So we have plenty of shows because this is gonna be a thing this year. But one thing I did want to get out right now. Everybody in the community, every decent vendor. I mean, I guess the bad ones can help too. Todd, how can we help the board? How can we help the foundation? Like, what are actionable, practical things that we can do to help you folks be as successful as possible?
I would just ask for just the tiniest bit of patience.
Okay.
Honestly, because the CVE Foundation was not ready to go last week, right? My guess, we had been talking about it at VulnCon, and in other, I didn't even know about it until I left government service. And so it was like definitely something that was like kind of cooking. The issue of paying for CVE is sensitive, right? Contract negotiations generally are not held in public. And so like it would have been inappropriate before last week to say really like, oh, we're looking at alternative funding sources, right? Because that could be seen as an attack, right? On the administration, very political, right? And so there's like political dimensions and financial dimensions and legal dimensions to all of this that we're working out. I would say we were probably going to be ready if we like really threw our back into it, probably in like middle, like after RSA, right? Like middle May-ish was what it was feeling like we'd be ready to like start really pull some triggers. So a little bit of patience would be great. A little bit of grace in this troubling time. We may not have that luxury because like everyone has noticed, breaking things is fast. It's much faster to break something than to build something. So check back. If we're not doing anything next week, hassle us. If we're
it's RSA next week. It's RSA next week. I don't.
Not everyone's going to RSA though, and
okay, all right.
So like we do need to like keep up the momentum we have, because like I said, I mean, we've gotten outreach from loads and loads of organizations, private companies, publicly traded companies, other nonprofits, other governments are all like on board of like with that exact sentiment, Bob, of like, what can we do to help? And the it's working on it. I promise.
The one thing that I've really seen a call from the community on is like just the utmost level of transparency.
Yeah.
I think like vulnerability management in general is an industry in which like they want every single one of the receipts, just every single one of them.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I know that moving forward will hopefully be.
And I know, like, you know, the key phrase is unprecedented times, but you know, the whole thing going down with a 30-hour notice or whatever is just absolutely insanity, right? But
yeah, and there's
that's also atypical.
And this, like, you know, we've spent now what 40 minutes, 35 minutes talking about this. In the universe of like things that are breaking that are related to the US government, I mean, this is such small potatoes. Like, I mean, NOAA just stopped doing like high atmospheric barometric pressure readings.
Yeah,
cool. And a whole bunch of regional centers got closed. A whole bunch of regional centers got closed.
NOAA's the National Oceanic and Aerospace
Atmospheric Administration.
Yeah.
And so they're the backing of like all weather in the world, right? Like they do that. And
it's fine. We don't use that.
That is a technical capability that we are walking away from, which is like just If you have cycles to spend on fixing that, that's way more important.
Yeah, go do
that. We're
shrinking the weather definitely more important than computer vulnerabilities.
Just a little bit. And despite all my joking on Mastodon, Todd.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
it's a lot of love.
Well, yeah. So no, but despite that, if you guys do need, you know, like baked goods for the bake sale for the funding, just let me know. I'll be glad to donate some as well too.
Hey, let me hit you with this CVE coin. Are you in?
I'm in, 100%. We'll get Austin to design it. Oh yeah, yeah, we got it.
And you can know.
All right, so we're gonna really quickly. I wanted to highlight this because Kimber and I do this dead internet theory everything up so often, and I just couldn't resist when Imperva, who does a pretty good job measuring internet stuff because they front a lot of organizations, they're kind of big, they got lots of devices out there. Go look up Imperva if you don't know what they do. Despite really not like it love to the graphics people at Imperva, but this is a terrible color scheme in your report. It's horrible.
It was a little hard to read.
Yeah, it was terrible. And like the choice of like red or purple or whatever for good on this particular thing I'm showing was a little odd. But hey, you know, who am I? I may have just read a book. Anyway, 51%. So I'm showing a stream graph over time. It's 100% stream graph over time, a stacked area chart, if you want to call it that. And we have gone from 2015 to 54% of the internet being us cool, wonderful humans, maybe not all of us, to 51% being a bot of some sort, with 37% being bad bots. And if you go through the report, which we're not going to like go into tedium on here for, no, shocker, AI is a big problem for this right now. So Kimber, I need to have a lot of time to go through it, but are you proud that we finally killed the internet?
No, I'm depressed. Look, I think that it's really depressing. It's just like the internet used to be so cool and then we killed it. But I think anybody who connects a honeypot up to the internet knows that like all of that traffic, just garbage. It's all garbage. There's literally no human operators behind any of this stuff. So I actually was a little unclear about their methods of what they were considering quote unquote bot traffic in all of this. Is that like any automation or is it AI specifically?
Yeah,
because that's very can't.
Yeah, non-interactive human stuff, and they were able like they did a lot of the AI stuff for both IP ranges and the user agents for seeing what, because
they have a problem with like BGP, right? Like because BGP is very automated, right? So like
you can't call BGP
traffic.
No,
Those are the
so
robots
like
that
they-
control the
I read the
internet.
report. I
yeah,
read the
yeah. No, it's all like the user facing stuff, like SMTP, HTTP, all that kind of stuff. It's not the lower level network protocols that are out there. It's worth reading though, just to get caught up on
Sure.
like just how bad stuff is. What I will say is, like, after this report, Zakir, because you mentioned all this activity in the internet, Kimber. Zakir asked me for like the top 1,000 user agents that we see in
Oh, God.
GreyNoise, and I went back like a month, tally them up, and like I won't say the words he said about the top one. Everyone probably knows. Everyone in the circles here knows who the top one is. It's Palo. Their Expanse thing goes everywhere, and I will not repeat what Zakir said in response to that. But like, there's just a lot of stuff happening on the internet, and it's just kind of bad. And we're just
You
going to
want
get
to
more
know?
places scanning the internet. It's going to be terrible.
This is what I think about all the time. All of that scanning is electricity. Like, in the end, it's just all signals, right? Like signals going through a wire. That is so much waste of electricity. If my dad could turn down the thermostat on the internet, that would be really helpful. But yeah, I think
There
about
was
that a
a-
lot of just we're generating so much.
That reminds me of a story I was reading this morning about how being like the open AI folks were saying that being polite cost them millions, basically by adding please and thank you. Like those tokens used like are costing them millions of dollars.
So cute though.
And
be rude. It's
I
better
think
for the
that's just
environment.
them.
That's what I'm doing.
I think that's just them trying to get us not to be nice to each other anymore. I think that's what that is. I think that's subterfuge.
like straight up psyop. I will say that I remember I used to work in an ISP. I want to say somewhere around 97, and I remember I think 97 or 98 was the year where email went from like majority humans to majority spam. Like email crossed the 50% threshold back then. It did seem to still take a generation to walk away from email. Like my kids don't do an email, but no one under 30 really reads email as far as I can tell, other than to like reset passwords. So yes, there's a lot of bot traffic. Yes, there's a lot of automated nonsense. There's still room for humans, I think.
One thing I'll call out in that report too was about, or they call out, was around account takeovers, ATOs, up over 40%. So yet another reminder for locking down your authentication mechanisms, because we are not doing that as an industry. Absolutely not doing that.
Real quick, gonna put this up from Censys since they're not here to talk about it themselves. This is a little self-serving because they just released this yesterday. They've got a thing up about using cursor and census data and GreyNoise data to do stuffs. It's actually they go into a lot of detail. It's actually really pretty cool about some decisions they made and their thought process around how they like join the data together as well. We also have a skunkworks project. So this is to find the like relay networks primarily is what their goal for this one was. We have a skunkworks project going that's going to have like a massive data set joined of census and GreyNoise data as well too, that I probably shouldn't be talking about now, but that's okay. This kind of plays really nicely with that. And I believe, Kimber, you guys you guys did a deep dive on the deferred. So it was like, this isn't like, I know that Patrick had done a LinkedIn thing, just kind of highlighting some of these things, but you did a really good deep dive on the deferred thing as well too. Is there any pullaways from this for you guys?
It's interesting to watch. Keep watching it and see how it changes. I haven't read the blog, but I kind of cut off guard with that. But that's what I've been following from watching this deferred status evolve. The numbers are big.
Yeah,
it just topped again today. Oh yeah, it's getting worse. Don't worry about it.
We have a report coming out I think next week for RSA. Todd, anything else on your blog besides what you have on the blog?
No. Yeah, Google for Run Zero San Francisco. You'll get all our lists of all the things that we're involved in. Also, I'll be at the GreyNoise booth off and on, just hanging out, chilling, GreyNoise booth.
For VulnCheck, there's going to be people wandering around, and I'm sure Patrick just impulsively decided to go to RSA. So if you want to hunt Patrick Garrity down, and send me a picture of you with Patrick Garrity. This goes to anybody, not just Todd.
Oh.
Or-
Oh, we should do it. Yeah, we should do a thing. If you send a picture with all of our booth or all of our like something from Run Zero, VulnCheck, Censys, GreyNoise, then you'll get.
You'll get something. I don't know what you'll get.
Maybe
Stormwatch hat, something.
and
CVE,
yeah, and
maybe
like
it depends on how many
Todd.
people submit.
Don't ever. I'll help. I'll Overwatch. I'll do it.
Well,
yeah. So find Todd and find Patrick, because if you want to talk to two people about CVE, they are two of the people to talk about CVE.
Yes, Patrick, you can be in
Seriously.
the GreyNoise booth.
Yes. Party in the GreyNoise booth. I love the expo floor because my game is like I try to find the engineers who got drafted into RSA duty, and then I just talk to them about their products, and they always tell me like how horrible and terrible they are.
And let's not forget last week's episode with Tracy about like walk up to a booth and say, I have no purchasing authority, but I'm curious on what you do here. Or just lay it out. Just start the conversation. Not everything has to be this high pressure sales thing. No. Ask questions, ask to speak to an engineer, whatever, but make the most of it for you as well.
Most of them have engineers around. They're not the first person you talk to, but they might be the last person you talk to, and that's always a fun conversation.
Yeah. And the people are stuck in booths. They want people to come by and say hi. So go say hi.
Yeah,
it's true.
People in the booth. They don't bite. I mean, actually, you don't bite, right?
Orthopedics or something. I don't know.
I had somebody at Black Hat bring me coffee because I let her charge her phone at our booth, and she actually brought coffee and energy drinks for everybody, and it was so nice. It was really nice.
Yeah.
Cyber people are cool. They are.
Yeah, people are nice.
Leave a tip for the booths. They're expensive.
A little snack.
Wow. All right. Well, that's a wrap for this week's episode, where the only thing more scattered than the CV landscape is the weather in San Francisco next week. To everyone braving the RSA conference crowds, may your badge scans be swift, your after parties bug-free, stay stormy, stay safe, and we'll catch you on the next downpour. Take care, everybody.